Thank you, and welcome to episode 17 of Hobson's Choice. I'm Michael G. Hobson, and in this episode, the G stands for going, as in, where are we going? Where are we going? As a resident of Ontario, I'd like to think I'm safe from the damage being done to the U.S. by their president. That's not to say our history is bereft of corrupt governments, but their president is doing his utmost to shatter the rule of law, the bedrock of the American structure, by casting doubt upon their institutions and their beliefs, and doubt upon the Constitution, a document that is the envy of nations across the world. And this president is doing it not because he likes the job. He doesn't look like a man enjoying his work. He's doing it for the prestige and for the money. Being called a crook is not what frightens this president. It's being called a traitor who made a deal with the devil, choosing between being a loyal American or being a disloyal president. Like I said, I like to think we're immune to this, but then the provincial Conservatives, who could have run a legless centipede as a leader and won the upcoming election, were swayed, like the US Republicans, to the far right, a place where dictators and authoritarians live, those in power who think very little of the people and very much about themselves. I know it's easy to compare Doug Ford with the president. They're both blowhards who suck the air out of every room they enter, both chest beaters for the lords of the hard right. At least I know that a Canadian provincial premier can cause far less damage and inflict far less pain and suffering on far fewer citizens than the US president. It is not to be taken lightly, however, that outlandish, boorish, and often selfish behavior does not belong in government, especially as a leader. Government is supposed to assist and care for its people, not line the leader's pockets. Voters must be cautious. You hear a leader say he will cut taxes and you think, great, more money for me. You hear gas taxes will be cut and you think, great, more money for me. But what you don't hear is that when income is cut, expenses also need to be cut. And that means services like healthcare, welfare, education, and the environment. And when taxes are cut, the biggest beneficiaries are not you, the lower and middle class earner. It is the corporations and the wealthy. Where does the money go when grants for public education are cut? When the public employees, like teachers and healthcare workers, lose their jobs? Where does the money go when schools and hospitals are closed? When environmental protections are cut or even eliminated? Where does the money go? The only thing that trickles down is acid rain. This is not what government was created to be. It was created by the people to serve the people, the masses, to gather income and then share it with the province's citizens, not with the few wealthy families and corporate entities that use government as a self-serving vehicle to fatten their pocketbooks. Yes, you, the Ontario electorate, have a right to be angry. The incumbent Liberals screwed up. They lost your trust. The half sale of Hydro One resulted in higher costs, and of course there are the accusations of impropriety and cronyism. Yes, you have the right to be angry, but ask yourself, where will you put your anger, and are you certain it will be in a safe place? The danger is getting so caught up with the need for change, so immersed in the singular idea that the governing party has bungled the execution of their mandate and that our process abused your trust. Liberals aren't perfect. They've proven that. And who knows what we'll get with the NDP. It's not surprising that the campaign is trying its utmost to distance itself from its history, specifically the Bob Rae days. But if you're looking for change, then choose the NDP, who will make some mistakes, likely in a more social environment, than the Ford Conservatives, who are, despite their name, not progressive, but rather regressive, and will make their mistakes in pursuit of self-desire. Know this. The PC leader is good friends with Mike Harris, the former Ontario Premier, best known for his common sense revolution in the late 90s. A revolution that was supposed to benefit the many at the expense of the few, but ended up doing the exact opposite. Cut, cut, cut was the Harris mandate, and it became with tax cuts what led to service cuts. Services like healthcare. 28 hospitals were closed and hundreds of nurses were fired. Education. Schools were closed and teachers were laid off. And environmental protections, which were ignored, if not repealed. The PC leader has already threatened to cut teaching jobs, and he's just campaigning. What happens if he wins? A businessman whose businesses were handed down to him from his father. Sound familiar? He wants to fire people on his first day of office. Sound familiar? He thinks climate change is a hoax and really loves money. Is healthcare a hoax? Education? Welfare services? Now, Harris resigned after the Walkerton tragedy, the Dudley George shooting, and an endless series of strikes by teachers, healthcare workers, labor unions, and social welfare groups. In essence, everyone hated Harris except his base. Now that sounds familiar. There is no perfect candidate, no perfect political ideal. But in these times when the world seems to be veering off course to the far right, it's important that we, as voters, keep this province in the middle of the road and a safe distance away from the precipitous fall that looms down the far side of the roadside shoulder. Till next time, my friends, be well.